Let's welcome then Mark and Nedum into the show. Mark, just take us through exactly what kind of happened over the last 24 hours.
Well, the defeat yesterday was obviously the final straw, and I agree with everything that Craig said there, by the way. I think that the owners and Ed Woodward didn't want to do this, and that is the damnation of this whole story, that United have been abject for 4 weeks at least, and beyond that, but they didn't want to make the decision, and they were forced into it by the results, and 7 defeats in 13, I think 5 in his last 7. But I think that interview that Solskjaer gave on leaving United and the statement they gave just summed up how the club have gone soft. They've gone soft at every level. The owners are soft, the chief executive's soft, the manager's soft. There's nobody places any real demands on anybody at United. So this kind of maudlin, self-satisfying interview that he's given is almost like the club patting him on the back saying, "Oh, it's been such a nice time the last 3 years. No more nasty Mr. Mourinho. This has been lovely with Ole, won a few away games, got close to a few cups, etc., but won nothing." I think the party's over now. I think that now that Solskjaer is gone, whoever comes in will not be quite as soft, and it will place more demands on the owners, on the players, on everybody at the club. And I think that it will be tougher now for United. It might actually bring the club to make an improvement, but they had nowhere else to go last night. And I think the fact that they've appointed a caretaker before appointing an interim says it all. They've had a month after the Liverpool defeat to find somebody, and they still can't manage that. They've appointed a caretaker before appointing an interim, before appointing a manager. I'm lost for words, to be honest.
Nedum, what have you made of the last 24 hours?
No, I'm the same as the guys. It's so strange. And that interview at the end after somebody's just been sacked, that's one of the softest things I think I've ever seen. Like, we get it. He's a nice guy, and seeing some of the people in the media saying, we got the soul back to our club and this, that, and the other. In my opinion, the soul of Manchester United comes from the fact they were so successful. And in those years, we spent 10, 15, 20 years watching them basically dominate English football. So you could say that the soul came back because the next player came back in, but they've not been successful. Like, the way that the club is now, it's not competitive when you look at the other teams who are doing what they're doing at this moment. And it's just so odd, like, to hire a caretaker to look after the job until an interim comes in, to then wait for the next manager to come in. Like, they could have had 4 managers in the next 9 months, and you think, well, what is that about? But in some ways, it's a sort of an indictment on the fact that, yesterday, if they would have won that game, does that mean that Solskjaer was good enough? But because they lost, it means that he's not. It seemed very reactive, even though essentially, like, his job must have been under pressure for a long time. And it's just bizarre. It's a truly, truly bizarre situation. And all the while United search for this sort of identity, bringing back what they were, I think what they were is not capable of being competitive at this moment in time. And they need to reinvent themselves if they want to find success, because the other teams around them who are doing well, they don't live on sentiment. They live on the now and the success that's required to remain in a job.
It's quite embarrassing, actually, isn't it, seeing a manager or an ex-manager sit there and almost come to tears in the fact that he's just been sacked and he's leaving this club. I mean, yeah, we understand. There's a lot of people have a affiliation, and I understand that. But let's be frank about it. Even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer himself, deep down, knew that he did not have what it took for this job. He did not have it. I mean, and to ask him to do it and for him to want to do it is quite incredible. I mean, the rebuilding of a club could be paralleled with, we haven't got a nasty streak now, as Mark was saying. That's how they see rebuilding a club, is that there's no nasty streak, that everything's nice, the press conferences are nice, the words are nice, there's no banging the table, there's no talking to the press about lack of transfers, there's none of this. It's all very nice, and that's not what... In an ideal world, then fine. But I have never seen... I mean, did any of those managers that I mentioned that have already been sacked this season, did we see videos coming out? It's part and parcel. I would not... And I go back to what I say. Most fans are not stupid. They understand he was a great player, but is not a great manager. They wanted it to work, but it wasn't working a long time ago. You don't need a video, particularly off the back of one of the... And this is saying something. This is actually saying something. One of the worst performances this season, and there has been many. That was arguably worse than Liverpool and City. Probably worse when you think about Watford, who are very good, by the way. Very, very good. But it's Man United.
Yeah.
You look at those players and you go, wow, how can they be dominated in this fashion? And how can he be on the side and have no effect on that? He has had no effect on it. And it's interesting that the guy that they're given the caretaker job to is that the guy who he mealy-mouth almost most of the time turned to in those cutaways, and they're having a conversation with Michael Carrick. There's just no life there. And so it's a shame all round, but it's not a surprise. He should never, not try to be rude here, he should never have had that job.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.